And welcome back. Or if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Rusty. and this is me channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And we are going to talk about Jennifer's Body. Jennifer's Body. Pieces of Jennifer's body. Unrated. Jennifer's Body was released in 2009. It was directed by Karyn Kusama, written by Diablo Cody, starring Megan Fox, Amanda Seyfried, Adam Brody, and Johnny Simmons. Chip, poor little Chip. So yes, this movie opens with Needy, and I have a very controversial, I have a controversial view of this movie that a lot of others don't share. Some people do, but I'm not in the mainstream about certain things in this movie. But I'll tell you all about it. So this opens with Needy in a mental hospital, kind of narrating on her current life, her current situation. We see her attacking the guard. She's like wild and freaky and a really bad girl. And then during that narration, we see Jennifer laying on her bed in a bedroom, and we see Needy outside the window looking like, Rambo or some kind of ninja assassin or something. So, yeah, that's what... So you're kind of a little confused there for a second, but, it quickly goes away. We then come to sort of the beginning, where we see Chip and Jennifer and Needy in school. I put Needy is so psychotically obsessed with Jennifer. Jennifer gets Needy to go to a concert with her, where they go to see Low Shoulder. So Jennifer and Needy go to that show. They meet them. Needy tells them that she overhears the band talking about how they think Jennifer is a virgin, and I guess Needy thinks they mean that in a bad way, so she goes and tells them. So it's kind of, this was all her fault, but tells them that, yeah, she's a virgin, so leave her alone. So Needy does tell them that Jennifer is a virgin, but we're not, she's not. And Jennifer sort of Needy tells her what she did, and she's like, why don't you do that? I haven't been a virgin since junior high. What vapid airhead tramp like Jennifer would be. You know what I mean? So it was almost like a secondary. It's like, who's going to believe that? But, so little do they know, though, that those guys do believe that, and that's exactly what they want. So while they're watching the show, Needy just stands there, doesn't say a word, as she watches a electrical outlet start a fire, and literally just watches it go up and she never moves, never flinches, never says, excuse me, fire, nothing. So the whole place goes up like, a burlap sack factory, and her and Jennifer manage to escape out the window, where in the parking lot, the guys from the band find Jennifer, invite her into the van, and she goes, and Needy is all really upset about that. So she goes home, and calls Chip, tells Chip she thinks she's worried about Jennifer going off with those guys. Later on, though, she hears stuff. She ends up hanging up with Chip, and she finds Jennifer in her house, like all bloody and shit, covered in blood, and she pukes up this black, bloody crap that looks like shit from that movie Splinter, if you've ever seen Splinter. But it kind of looks a little bit like that. Or Venom kind of looks a little bit like that, too. So she spits up all of this, but she leaves after acting all weird. The next day, they're both back in school. Jennifer looks luscious and, wonderful, and she's acting like nothing happened. Everyone is upset about the fire. Needy tells Chip about the black vomit the night before. So Jennifer ends up later on that afternoon. We meet Colin in the hallway. It's this little The Cure type goth kid. Later on that afternoon, Jennifer kills Jonas out in the woods behind the school. Really ugly. So this is what we see when we see what Jennifer has become. This very interesting looking creature. You almost want to think she's a vampire, but it's not. It quickly looks different, sort of like some kind of demon. So Chip calls Needy, and they meet at the park where they talk about Jonas having been killed that night. We then sort of skip to a month later, the monthly. It's a 1 month anniversary of the fire, and we can tell that Jennifer needs to eat again. So she accepts a date from Colin. She ends up meeting him at this fake address, where that was a pretty cool scene where she eats him. Needy is sort of like connected to this for some reason, and she feels it probably because of her psychotic obsession with Jennifer. Because Jennifer hadn't bit her or anything, or like puked in her mouth or anything. So why she's like having these connection feelings can only be because of that, in my opinion. So she kills Colin. Needy feels it and goes looking for Jennifer. Now that was also when that was the cringiest sex scene between Needy and Chip that I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the whole thing, from beginning to end, the whole attitude, the whole way, I was just really embarrassed for both of them. It was a horrible. I don't know if it was supposed to be cringy, but that was the most cringy scene that I've ever seen in my life. So, and it's not just because I like Chip, because I know that's what some of you are thinking right now. It's not jealousy. It's really not. So she goes looking for Jennifer, almost hits her in the road. Jennifer follows her home, and she kind of tells her the truth about stuff while she makes out with her. Tells her about the low shoulder ritual that she went through. So we get to see exactly what happened to her. That they were sacrificing her for fame, but she wasn't really a virgin. So something obviously went wrong, is what Needy is thinking. So she has to like eat people to stay healthy, to stay alive. She also admits that the night of the fire, the night of that ritual, that was the night of the fire, that she had killed Amit, one of the boys they had talked to at the bar. She admits that she had killed him before she had showed up at Needy's that night of the ritual. So we finally know what happened to him. Um, but she says she has to be full, but when Needy asked her what that means, she won't tell her. Instead, she leaves. Needy goes to Colin's funeral, which was a very interesting scene. And that's also where she realizes, because they're discussing about how his body was found, and because of the conversation she had with Jen, she now kind of puts it together in her head and is like, so that's what she meant by staying full, is that she's killing these boys and eating them, or eating parts of them. So she goes back to school. She tries to tell Chip. She had done a bunch of research in the occult thing about demons and stuff, and that's where she realizes that because Jennifer was used in a dark ritual which required a virgin, but Jennifer was not a virgin, that it turned her into an embodiment of the demon that the ritual user was calling up. So she tries to tell Chip about it. He doesn't believe her. Who would, right? I mean, and plus we're in a horror movie. They never believe you in a horror movie. So she tells him, though, that she can't go to the dance with him. She doesn't want him to go, makes him promise he won't go. But he goes anyway. On the way, he gets succubused by Jennifer, who's going to kill him, because she definitely needs to eat again. So she takes him to the school pool, and I will pause here for a second to get a little gay with you. That fucking dress Needy was wearing at the prom was, what the fuck was that? If Carrie White can sew a beautiful dress in 2 days for the prom, what in the fuck what the hell was that? It looked like fucking bubblegum wrappers all sewed together. That was the most awful dress I have ever seen in my life. And I realize you're going, yeah, but it just had to be said, okay? It just had to be said. Whoever was the costume designer, I don't know if they meant to use the most ridiculous prom dress that's ever been created on this planet. You should be fired and fined at least $10,000 for making that decision. She looked like a used tampon in that dress. That's all I've got to say about that dress. Now, so while Jennifer has Chip in the pool, she's like messing with him, telling him lies about Needy. Needy sort of feels it when they kiss. She runs out there and there's this big showdown fight, which was it was a pretty good fight. Jennifer leaves. They kind of catcall each other, for a bit, and do some burns and cuts on each other. I mean, verbally. And then, well, they did physically as well. But, so Jennifer, takes off and leaves. Chip then dies, which, for fucking around with all of this shit, you almost deserved it. But I still felt sorry for him. Getting mixed up with them two is just, you're almost, it's like, well, whatever. Now, Needy goes to Jennifer's house, and that's where we sort of flash back full circle to her standing outside the window in that little ninja outfit. She goes in there. There's a pretty cool big fight where Needy ends up killing her. And right after she kills her, Jennifer's mom walks in, finds Needy on top of her with a big box cutter in her. And that's how Needy is labeled a psycho and put in the mental institution. Now, while she's in there, we're kind of full circle now, so we're back to her in that solitary confinement where she was put when she nicely kicked, that guard, that worker in the mental institution. And she starts saying that there's one thing she's discovered while she's been in there. And that was more of her research. Because she had been bit by Jennifer, it's sort of like I guess, is it Rogue from X-Men or Mystique? I think it's Rogue. Which one of them one of the X-Men can like take the powers of another one? Anyway, that's kind of what this is. She had gotten bit, and therefore she had acquired some of Jennifer's powers. So she levitates up to the top of this, to where a window was, where she could break out, which shows that's probably why she kicked the guard and got put in there, was because she wanted to escape. So she escapes and gets picked up by Lance Heinrichsen. Tells them that she's following a rock band and tonight was going to be their last performance, where she then goes to their hotel and she brutally murders all the members of Low Shoulder. So that was a pretty good ending. So I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. I really love it. I sped through this story. We're going to talk about it now. Little trivia. The movie ends at that moment with one of my favorite Courtney Love Hold songs, Violet. Interestingly enough, though, the director he was friends with Courtney Love. And Courtney Love, she has a song called Jennifer's Body on their first album, or their second album, Live Through This. There's a song called Jennifer's Body. It was written about this movie for the soundtrack. But because Violet became a big hit, they used Violet by Hole instead of Jennifer's Body by Hole. But just in case, if you're a Hole fan, the song Jennifer's Body on Live Through This was made for this movie. But they used Violet instead because Violet had just become a worldwide hit. And there you go. Now, I said at the beginning that I had a little view of this movie that is a little bit different than other people. I absolutely fucking hate Needy. Okay? I hate her. I could tell that bitch was a fucking sociopath from like 5 minutes into the movie. So, the villain of this movie is supposed to be Jennifer, right? You know? But let's face it. What is Jennifer? Okay? Jennifer was a vapid, airheaded, self-absorbed, selfish tramp. And there's lots of them. But that's all she was. Jennifer wasn't mental. She wasn't psychotic. She wasn't a psycho. She wasn't a sociopath. She was just that stupid girl in school, the cheerleader, the vapid. She was Cordelia from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's all she was. She did not become evil of her own volition. She was just a stupid, vapid Cordelia from Buffy the Vampire Slayer who got kidnapped and murdered in a ritual. So you might be going, so you have sympathy for Jennifer. Yeah, I have sympathy for Jennifer, although I wouldn't want to be nowhere near the bitch before she was dead. And certainly not after she was dead. But what I'm saying is, the real villain, if you want to talk mentally, is Needy. I hate that bitch. Okay, Needy was a total sociopath. Her obsessive, psychotic obsession with Jennifer was very apparent. She was using Chip. When Jennifer did almost give her some, Needy was right there ready to get it on several occasions. And yet she's using Chip to play straight. And that just irritates me. So yeah, I mean, all through this movie, I kept like going, who's the bad person here? Needy is a user. She was literally damn near emotionless, like a sociopath is. She stood there and watched that bar catch on fire and didn't do a goddamn thing about it. So that's a little different view than most people have about this movie. They're like, Jennifer is the baddie. I'm like, well, Jennifer is the baddie. She's possessed and she's a dead demon, brought back to life and has to feed, and she murders these innocent people. Yes, I'm not saying Jennifer isn't bad. What I'm saying is that she's one kind of bad and didn't ask for it. But Needy is a total villain herself. She is a real life villain. She's a sociopath. She's a user. She's refuses to be herself. She is just, I mean, I don't like Needy. And a lot of people really like Needy. And they hate Jennifer. Well, I hated Cordelia and Buffy the Vampire Slayer most of the time, too. But, but Cordelia was redeemed, At least Jennifer had the possibility of redemption because all she was. Because let me tell you, if you know girls like that in high school, like Cordelia, like the Mean Girls, like Jawbreaker and Heathers and the stuck-up bitches and stuff like that, if you know them in high school, and then 10 years later, when you're on Facebook and you're seeing them with their big asses and 2 divorces and they look like shit, and you're like, but I thought you were the head of the cheerleading squad. You were all that in high school. Because they think that high school is all that. Then they graduate and they step out into the real world, and next thing you know, they look like Bridget Fonda does like right now. And you're like, what the fuck happened to you? You were the fucking prom queen. You thought you were the shit that had no smell but roses. And yet, your life didn't turn out very well. So, what I'm saying is that people like Jennifer. That's probably about the only good thing about Facebook, is to go and look up all your friends or the people that you knew from high school. Just find one of them. You'll find a whole bunch of them friends with each other, and you can track them all down, trust me. And then you end up like looking at them like, what the fuck? I remember you. You were the stuck-up jock dude, who like made fun of me for being a skate punk. And you were like the jock dude. And look at you, dude. Oh my God. You look like Cletus from fucking Porky's or something. And you're like, oh, well, you see, it all swings around in the end, because you look like my daddy now, and I look like your oldest kid, and I still look good, and you look like somebody ran over you with a truck. But you were all that in high school. Hold on to those memories, because it's the only time you've been all that. So my point is that that's what Jennifer is. She's one of those people you knew from high school. She's not evil. She's just a vapid slut, who thinks she's all that. Needy, however, that bitch is cracked. Okay? That's the quiet little nerdy motherfucker that talks her boyfriend into murdering her parents. That's the using, slithering little thing that Jennifer was in a hell of a lot more danger from Needy than Needy was ever going to be from Jennifer, had not Jennifer gotten kidnapped and murdered by these psychos in a devil ritual or a dark ritual. So that's kind of like I've got a different view of this movie. I see it from a different angle than a lot of people do. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. But yes, I officially am not a fan of Needy. I think Needy is a total skank. I think she's... And I think it was very apparent in the movie. You know, remember the Oriental girl, the Asian girl in the gym? I'm gonna show you what I mean, because I think the director and the writers, they knew this. Remember in that when like Jennifer was out there cheering and Needy was on the stand and she was like, and that Asian girl like reached around and said, you're so lesbian. What was it called? Lesbigay? You are so lesbigay. You know, and I'm like, you know, no, we're just best friends. That's what friend. No, you're a fucking obsessed psychotic. That's what you are. And she was. That's just the truth. But I think everybody has to have the protagonist and the villain. You know, they have to have the good guy and the bad guy. They got to have the white hat and the black hat. And so they want to make Needy like the hero of this movie. And I disagree in every way, shape, or form. Now, did she do some great things? Yeah. I mean, you know, she did go and try to save Chip. Didn't work, though, did it? Maybe you should have went to the prom with him. Then he wouldn't have been out in the park by himself to get taken by Jennifer and ending up dead by the pool, uttering, dude, why you gotta die like that? Uttering some cheesy, I love you too. I mean, it's disgusting. Why, if you wanted to protect Chip, why didn't you take him to the prom with you, dumbass? What you think you were gonna do? So, there's a little different take on Jennifer's Body for you. Now, I love this movie. It's a cult classic. I love it. It's an 8 out of 10. Says so right there on my paper. I absolutely love it. I upgraded my DVD. I've got the special DVD with the art card, and also I guess I'm going to keep it in its packaging because the art card from the DVD box will not fit into the Blu-ray box. So, I guess that leaves me with an extra DVD of Jennifer's Body. That's cool. Whatever. So, that was Jennifer's Body and my rather strange view about it. Got a little trivia about the song at the end. Yeah. I am not a Needy fanboy. And I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you, bye. Tell me your thoughts on this movie. Tell me your thoughts on Needy and Jennifer and Chip and Colin. Poor little Jonas. And I will give Needy credit where credit is due, though. I was very satisfied that you took your psycho ass and killed them because they needed to be killed. So that was good. I will give you that. You're still a sociopath, though. And you were still more danger to all of those people if this hadn't happened. You were the most dangerous one in that school. As far as this group of friends, you would have hurt them all eventually because you are a sociopath. And that's my final word on it. Love you, miss you, bye. Always remember, never forget, you're a very special person, even if you are not a demon-possessed cheerleader or football quarterback who got killed because you thought claiming you were a virgin was going to make you safe. Instead, that's exactly what they wanted. Bye-bye.